Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have something a little bit more unusual, and it's been a long time, but we are going to return to Spain for this review. And this is a brewery who I've never tried anything from, but I've heard very good things about. So for this one we are going to go to Nómada Brewing Company, and as the name might suggest, these guys are actually Gypsy brewers. Nómada, of course, in English just means nomad, but today we're going to have a taste of their Tundra beer, which is a 6% Belgian style ale, and this is part of the Landscape series of beers, and this one should be really quite nice. I had a really good rating on ratebeer.com, and these guys have actually been rated as the best brewer on the Iberian Peninsula in Rate Beer quite consistently actually, and as I always say, that website very rarely leads you wrong when it comes to anything to do with craft beer. It's a very good resource for people like me. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Nómada. As I said, very first time I'm trying one of their beers, and there's all the usual social media things, the Facebook, the Twitter and the Untappd for the channel. If you want to see more beer reviews, please subscribe. Hopefully I can do more Spanish things fairly soon, but to my Spanish viewers and Spanish speaking viewers, I will apologise in advance for any wrong pronunciations in this video. I've never studied Spanish at all, but it's something I would like to learn in the future. But please don't hesitate to get in touch and let me know some of the other Spanish brewers and beers that you'd like me to have a look at, and I will do my best to get hold of them, because the Spanish beer I've tried so far has been pretty damn good, so I'd love to try some more. So anyway, Nómada Brewing Company, as I said, are a Spanish gypsy brewery, and they were founded in 2011 by Javier Aldea, who's actually the brewmaster, Sammy Claret, and also Ramon Sorribes, and he actually left the company in early 2014. But Ramon had actually owned a beer shop called Landia, and Javier had been a regular customer there along with his friend Sammy. But Sammy had actually turned up in Javier's bar one day with some homemade beer, and soon, with the three all being in the same kind of beer circle, they soon decided to collaborate and found Nómada Brewing Company. None of them had much experience in the way of brewing before, apart from some home brewing, but they were really quite interested and quite passionate, so they decided to start up their own company. But as is the case with most gypsy brewers, they actually brew all of their beers at host breweries, and as a result they've got many collaboration beers. These guys have brewed with Omnipollo and quite a few other of the more famous gypsy brewers, Mikkeller and things like that as well. But they say that this also allows them to be creative in their approach, and they're constantly brewing new beers as well. If you go and have a look on Rate Beer, there is a big list of all the different Nómada beers there. But Javier, who's the brewmaster, actually likes unfiltered beers apparently, and he enjoys drinking the different German and Belgian beers, but he also says he has a great appreciation for Czech beers as well. But this brewery have been quite consistently rated as one of the best breweries on the Iberian Peninsula by Rate Beer, and they aim to brew at least 3,000 hectolitres of beer per year, and most of their beer is brewed at Cervecería Cuentas. Apologies if the pronunciation's wrong again. And there's also another brewery that they do a lot of them, but most of their beer is brewed at Cervecería Cuentas. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff from these guys. They've got a regular range of beers that seems to change quite a lot, and they've also got their Landscape series, which is their more kind of unusual and higher ABV beers. So there's a lot of interesting things going on at Nómada Brewing Company. As I said, very highly rated by Rate Beer. If you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, go and have a look at the website and at the Facebook page there. So anyway, that's enough about the brewery, so let's actually get stuck into this beer. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. So this one is a 6% Belgian ale. It says on the side here, it says, according to their needs, nomads move from one place to another instead of settling in a permanent place. To be a nomad is our philosophy. Nómada is creativity and technique put into practice with every detail. Nómada is textures. It's not limited only to brewing criteria. Every product is a story, a landscape, an artistic projection of our feelings. And it says on the side, this is Landscape Series number 4, Tundra. The Arctic permafrost is melting, tending to the reindeer herds. The last nomads of the tundra are moving away from the White Sea. At night, smoke of bonfires merges into fog. Legends about love and respect for this land and its people are being told. Cheers. So yeah, quite a nice bit of artwork. There's some nice modern art. I'm just having to tilt it up so that the light from the computer doesn't kind of make it all blurry on the camera there, but as you can see, plain bottle cap on this one. But yeah, very nicely presented. As I said, it's a 6% Belgian style beer, this one. I'll just read the specs of it for you. It's got a malt base of pale caramel and wheat malts, and it's hopped with Cascade, Chinook and Simcoe. So it sounds really quite interesting. As I say, 6% Belgian style ale. So without further ado then, we'll get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening there. I think the street cleaner is just going outside the front of my house just now, so that's the noise you can hear. It's always annoying, they always do that when I'm filming a beer video. Very inconsiderate of them and very annoying. But yeah, as I've always said with some of these beer reviews, when you go to countries like Spain, you get some really quite interesting beers. And I found when I tried French beer and I tried Dutch beer, you don't know too much about these countries when it comes to brewing beer, but they always have some really good surprises to show up. And the Spanish beer I've tried before, Cervecería Tiras, they were really good, and there was also the other one, Edge Brewing from Barcelona. They were really nice as well. But as you can see, this beer is poured really nicely. This has got a nice big 2-finger frothy white head on there, big bright yellow colour. It actually looks quite like a Belgian wit beer just on first look, but we'll give it a smell and see a bit more what it's like. It's definitely meant to be one of the lighter Belgian styles of beer, this one, but it did just say on Rate Beer that it is a Belgian ale. Some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, quite a few of them rushing up towards the bottom of the head though, and I'll just put the last little bit of this in, and we'll see how we get on with this. Very much looking forward to this beer actually. Been wanting to try this one ever since I bought it. I bought this in Systembolaget in Malmö, but as you can see, there's a bit more sediment actually floating around in it now. There must have been a few little bits in the bottom, but there are a few very small particles moving around there. But let's give this beer a smell and see how we get on. Yeah, definitely not a wit beer, but kind of a bit more like a Belgian blonde ale actually. Smells like that. There's that typical big Belgian bready yeast there. It smells a bit like a kind of farmhouse ale actually. There's a bit of sweeter caramel there and biscuit malt definitely coming out. You can pick out the cereal character as well. There's definitely the wheat's coming out too. There's a bit of that kind of wheaty, slightly peppery spice in there, but it doesn't smell like a normal wit beer. There's not quite enough wheat in there or enough citrus really for it to be a wit beer. There's a bit of peachy note in there, and that's from the Simcoe hops. The Simcoe hop always gives you this really quite interesting peachy note. There is a little bit of citrus in there and some grassy hop and maybe a little bit herbal, but for me this beer is more about, the aroma on this beer is definitely more about the breadiness, and there's quite a bit of caramel sweetness coming out of this one, like I say, which in my experience is a bit unusual for a sort of Belgian style ale, but it's a nice addition to it. As I said, there's caramel malt in here, so that is to be expected. And the bready and yeasty, that sort of Belgian bready yeasty character in there goes quite well with the thing. It's not, usually I would expect caramel from a trip ale beer. This might be some sort of hybrid between a wit beer and a trip ale, but it's only 6%. Usually a trip ale is maybe about 8 or 9 from what I remember. But yeah, it's quite interesting. There's a lot of different Belgian elements to there, so maybe it's just meant to be a kind of Belgian hybrid beer if you like, but we can talk about styles all day. The most important thing is the taste, so we'll get stuck into this beer now. So this is the Tundra beer from Nómada Brewing Company in Spain, apparently one of the best craft brewers on the Iberian Peninsula, so let's give them a go. Skål. Now that really is quite an interesting beer. There's elements of quite a few different things in there. As I always say with the beers, sugar them around your mouth a little bit and let your whole palate adjust before you start dissecting the flavour too much. Yeah, this one's really interesting. As is the case with most Belgian beers, you're getting that big bready malt base that just blankets the middle of your palate. There's some big yeasty character on top of that. Yeah, this is interesting because you can feel the pale malt just blanket the middle of your tongue, and on top of that you've got the kind of thicker bodied yeast flavours coming out, and it's really nice, I have to say that. Yeah, this is really well done actually. It's not like any Belgian beer I've tried before. There's elements of a few different things going on in there. On top of that kind of pale malt and Belgian bready yeast character, there's a sweet caramel and slightly biscuity malt flavour coming out of this one. There's a bit of the wheaty character in there too. The wheat in this is very smooth. It's not really too spicy. The more spicy elements of the flavour, I think, are coming from the hops. There's a good bit of a sort of floral, aromatic spice coming out of the hops. If you move out towards the edge of your palate, that's where you're getting these hoppy characters. The floral aromatic character in this is kind of around the front corners of the palate there and right at the back. In between it's fairly smooth, I think, but on the sides, as you move into the aftertaste, the floral aromatic character creeps out a bit and begins to give you a sort of more dry mouthfeel, actually. Yeah. This is really interesting, actually. There's just a whole host of different things going on in here. As you move around the front of the palate, there is a bit more of that smooth, grassy character. Maybe there's a bit of herbal flavour in the hops here as well. And it works, the flavours work together quite well. There's a lot of things in this beer, but they all seem to blend together in a really kind of quite unique way and work very well. Yeah. If you go just behind the very front curve of the tongue there, behind the very front of your palate, you'll feel this little oily bubble, and as I always say in these reviews, that's where your fruity flavours come out in this beer. And I think there's quite a bit of citrusy flavour coming out in this, but it's not anywhere near as prominent as you get, for example, from a wit beer. It's just a nice, slightly syrupy complement to the caramel flavours that are in this. It mixes quite well with the caramel flavour. There could be just a little bit of a peachy flavour in there, actually, and that's an aspect that you usually do get with the Simcoe hop. You usually get some sort of peachy flavour in there, but for the other ones, you usually get grapefruit, like Chinook can give you this nice, interesting kind of slightly piney grapefruit flavour, and then the other hop, the Cascade, gives you a really quite distinct sort of grapefruit flavour, but I'm not really picking that up in here. This one comes across as being more citrusy and more peachy, and there's an interesting infusion of citrus and peach just behind the very front curve of the palate there. But the flavour's really nice on this one. It's combining quite a few unusual things, like the pale malt and then the big bready character on top of that. For me, it's quite an unusual combination, but it really does work. You can talk about styles all day, but the most important thing is that this beer tastes nice. So you should give this guy a go, because it is quite different from anything I've ever had a go of, and that's out of about 610 beers or something that I've done for you now. This is different and it is good. It's hard to compare it to anything just because it really is quite different. It's almost like a hybrid of quite a few different Belgian styles, but I would recommend you give it a go because it is really quite nice. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say mid-bodied. Carbonation is definitely smooth. It could be pushing the full-bodied category, actually, because the bready character comes in. And as is the case with most Belgian beers, even though this one is actually only 6%, you do feel like it's a bit heavier than that. You can get just a little bit of alcohol warmth out it, but there's a good bit of hoppy dryness in this one. As I said, that builds up as you move into the aftertaste, and there's a little bit of spicy character from the floral aromatic hops, and maybe just a bit of herbalness too. But I mean, this one's really quite nice. There's a big malty character, as you would expect from these sort of Belgian beers. But overall, very nice and very different from anything that I've tried before. So it's quite hard to recommend this beer on the basis of if you like another beer like I normally do. But I would say if you enjoy big bready beers, if you like the Belgian wit beers, but you also like the blonde beers as well, probably this one meets somewhere in the middle of that. It's got a few elements, I think, as well, of a kind of German Helles in there too. So it's really a bit of an unusual combination, this beer, but that's what makes it interesting for those of you who like to taste beer. It's certainly given me something to think about, and I wouldn't hesitate to try it again. I'd be interested to try it on tap and see how it comes out. So there's some really interesting elements in this beer. Bit of caramel, bit of the big typical Belgian bready yeast, and some really nice hoppy character. It's got some of the really interesting hoppy aspects that you'd expect of quite a few different styles of beers. So I would recommend you go and do this. And now, as a result of trying this beer, I really do want to try some of the other Nómada Brewing Company things. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. This one's probably been a little bit odd because this one isn't like anything I've tried before, so all the more reason for you guys to go and try it yourself. But I hope you've enjoyed the beer review nonetheless. As always, please let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys. Let me know where you're drinking this beer as well. That's always interesting to know. To my Spanish viewers, like I say, please let me know some other Spanish beers to have a look at, and I would, because I really would love to do some more Spanish beers. It's just the fact that they are quite hard to get here, but I will review them if I can get a hold of them. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. In the meantime, until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Hopefully I can do some more Spanish ones for you soon, but I thank you for watching, and I will catch you soon with my next beer review. Many interesting things for you coming up. Slàinte just now.